Hey everybody, Brett Tadlock here, TN Artist. I hope you're doing great today. We're going to work on a little painting here, just kind of a fun one, and landscape and some other stuff in it. But I've got my 8x10 canvas, 200 dpi set up here. I'm going to be using some of my custom brushes that you can get over on Patreon or Gumroad. Some of these brushes are available to Patreon members for free. And I'm using my color palette here. I have added a few extra ones, but I'll be using my standard color palette plus a few of the ones that I call like the NC Wyeth kind of colors that I just picked out that I thought were kind of reminiscent of some of the stuff that you see in his, just because I like that kind of color palette. So I've got those all in here. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to start on a background sky, and I want to go over using the gradient tool to really kind of help you make life a little bit easier. So we're going to take this gradient here, we're going to duplicate it. So we've got the exact same one. I'm going to drag this over and drag this over. So if I put this on here now, it would just be this little gray and black kind of thing, but that's not what we want necessarily. Put this here, and then I'm going to click once right here, and I'm going to go over here and click once as well. So I'm going to click on this middle one, and then I'm going to click here. Now I don't want white here necessarily, but I'm going to go with this kind of yellow, and I'm going to bring it down just a little bit. So it's a bright yellow. I'm going to do okay on that one. Now over here, I want to go with just a little bit. So I'm going to click on it once, and I'm going to come down here and click. And then the next thing I want to do is select this yellow again, but now I want to come down here and go towards the orange. Okay, so now I have that yellow and orange there. And I'm going to click over here once on this one, come down here, and I'm going to click on this orange here, put that in there. Okay, so two slightly different oranges. Now I'm going to click over here on this one and click once on it down here. And I think for the next section of it, I think what I'd like to put there would be maybe kind of this bluish color. About halfway here, tell it OK. So now I have this blue kind of coming out. And then down on this one, click once, click it, and I'm going to go to this kind of deep red right here. And again, maybe just bring that down and desaturate it just a little bit. OK. I'm going to click one more right here, then click it again. I'm going to go to this darker blue, but again, I'm going to bring it down. Or to something like maybe that. That's a little too purple, so I'll drag it over just a little bit. Maybe up a little bit as well. Something like that. So now I have this really kind of a cool sunrise, sunset kind of thing going on here. And now I can click this and save it here, and then I can click on this one and just delete it. Tell it yes. Click on this one. I could even and then name it like that. And now when I bring it over here and drag it in, I can start off by having it kind of like so. And I'm going to change the, angle this just ever so slightly, just barely. And I'm going to drag this down. Oops. Adjust this over a little bit. Like so. Because I kind of duplicated it, to be honest. I don't remember how to get rid of it real quick, so I'm just going to drag it over here. That down a little bit. And that down a little bit. There we go. And let's kind of open that one up a little bit more. Something like that. Alright, so now I'm going to hit enter and select it. And we'll go ahead and close this. So I'm going to come up to filter, I'm going to Gaussian blur it, and I'm going to blur the living daylights out of it. Something like that. Come down just maybe a little bit. Okay. Alright. So that's going to give us that blur for that, and kind of, make all these soften out. I may even just, let's look at it and see what happens if we do it again, because sometimes if you do it in stages, you get better results. Yeah, I kind of like that better. So 75 and 100. Okay. So now we've got this here. Now if you want to play around with it, you can always press T on the keyboard, zoom out a little bit. You can either stretch it so that you get more of the blue, or you could stretch it the other way and get a little bit more of the yellow. But I'm going to keep that blue. Again, I want to angle this just slightly. And tell it enter. Okay, so now we've got that in there. And I think that looks pretty good. So let's make a new layer, because we don't want to disturb this stuff back here as of yet. And let's come over here and let's go with our selection tool. We're going to go with freehand, and we're going to go with add. And I know somewhere in here I want to put in some mountains. Just going to kind of come across. Really crazy, just kind of a quick little mountain range in the background. So now we have that selected. And I'm going to go with, come over here, and I'm going to press Alt. I'm going to select this. And I'm going to fill that. And then Control D. So now I've kind of got that selected there. I'm going to come back over here to my brush. And let's see, let's go with this Impasto brush. We're going to put it on the smudge setting, which is 4. And now I'm just going to kind of smudge up and down. If it changes mountain a little bit, that is perfectly fine. I kind of want it to. And I could do this where I just paint this in with a brush, which is fine. But I'm just trying to save a little bit of time here, because that's the one thing with doing these videos. I don't want to overly spend the time doing it, because I'm not sure how many people would actually watch through it. So I'd rather kind of show you the quick way of doing it. Idea. I'm going to grab a little bit of this orangish color here. Now I'm going to put some of that in there. On this section here. Maybe some of this yellow. Okay. And then some of this darker umber kind of color. So this is still very much in the red family, so it's going to go really well with this. Throwing this in here real quick. Come back and just kind of soften these together, but keeping the texture. Like so. Take my selection tool and just kind of jagged edge on the top here. The top, and press delete. So now we've got that kind of done up in there. I'm going to come over here to my brushes again. I'm going to go down here to my glaze. Let's see, not the glaze, flat is what I'm looking for. Palette knife. Kind of soften this out. try. Same kind of thing. Add some of this orange. Something along those lines. Like that. Let's grab our fir tree. That size way down. Just kind of scrub some of those in. The spruce. The setting on this one does a little bit different. And all we're doing is just kind of giving some jagged edges to some of this. And applying what's there. 0, and bring that into 100%. And select this color here. And just kind of bring that in. And I'm just using this brush because it does give the impression of trees, but it's mainly also just a vertical brush that I think can look good. Some of this darker color. Just kind of bring that around. Something kind of like that. Like this color. And then let's go a little bit darker. Just kind of think about the direction that your land is going. Really not a wrong way to do this. You're just trying to get the gradation, like the sun is kind of peeking over. But these tree brushes, it gives you that really kind of quick way to kind of lay it in, break up the background and so forth. Make a little bit of a hill here, getting a little too repetitive. Just try to change some of the shapes here and there. So it makes it a little bit more interesting. Kind of like that. Just throw in some down here. Just kind of round this out a little bit. Kind of darken it over here on the edges. This brush is designed, the more you go over, the darker it's going to get. Right click and drag it over. Okay. Our foreground's going to be really dark. And just go over and kind of Soften some of this together. It's not quite so straight. So much striation in it. Come from the middle out. Again, think about the direction of your land and how you want it to kind of play around with the light. The period button, and that'll put it back on the whole screen. And then I think, let's go ahead and add a little bit. I kind of want to vignette this over here, so I'm just going to bring this up here. There we go. Just kind of connect those in. Back down to layer 1, make a new layer. Let's come over to our brush. Let's select this blue color and then go darker. Push the bracket keys to change the size. Let's start laying in solid shapes. Something, just kind of let it taper off a little bit. Again, these are just at a slight angle. Just kind of bulk lay it in. A few stragglers here and there. Just kind of lay those up. Get an idea for the direction. Then I'm going to come down here and I'm going to grab a little bit of this gray. Just kind of throw that in here and there. I think at the moment, just kind of throwing in some color. And maybe just a touch of this, just a little bit warmer. And then this up through here. Press 4. And kind of blend all these together. We can start to get some interesting looking clouds fairly quickly. Sweep them back and forth. Just kind of puff them out a little bit. And I'm going to duplicate this layer, which is going to make it darker because that paint's kind of thinned out. And I'm going to come in here with the eraser. And I'm going to erase back some highlights. Merge this layer down by right-clicking, merging it down. I'm going to press 0 so we can zoom in a little bit. And with this other cloud brush, I need to put it back on 4. What I want to do here is kind of on this bottom is slightly smooth it out. Bottom tend to be smoother looking or flatter. Impression that we're looking at the bottom. You're just kind of sweeping this across. We're just slightly select this, come down a little bit darker. Now then, let's put in a little bit of shadow. Through edge. Something like that. And again, just kind of soften it all together. Smear these around for each other. Just trying to capture the feel of those clouds. Okay. And let's take a little bit of from down here. And maybe lay that in through here. Kind of soften it in. This will give some color harmony. Kind of pull stuff together a little bit. I'm going to bring this dark up into some of these areas here. Just kind of warm up some of the cloud a little bit. Kind of, again, helps kind of pull it all together. Just straight blue. The purples and some reddish tones, which again just kind of helps. We'll bring it up a little bit higher in size and just go over it real soft to kind of get some of this all pulled together. This would be the air kind of a thing if you were using traditional brushes. Pressure here and there to help pull some of the color around. Just kind of go a little darker on the edge there, like that. And now let's come down here to this bottom layer. This. And just kind of start laying in some streaking clouds. Just kind of blend that back and forth. That's just going to start adding some interest to some of these, and we can cut these different striations and add some clouds in the background as well. Because we're pulling it out of this other stuff here, it's going to naturally give you some harmony, cohesiveness. This is a super, to me, fun and easy way to make clouds that kind of look like they belong. The loose you can get with this, to me, the better it is. Just throw some of these down here. Orange and red from the bottom. It kind of starts to pull it all together. Bring up a big thunderhead right there. Some of them along those lines. Okay. I come back up here, just kind of bring that down and around. I like to kind of try and give some odd shapes to the clouds so that they're not so uniform. Just to me, it's, I don't know, looks better. Take this cloud layer and we can merge it. We can really kind of come in here and soften some of these together. the darker ones more on top. Just kind of soften out some of these stragglers. Okay, so we've got those pulled together. Now let's come in front of this one. And on this, we're going to add in almost black, dark maroon. Alright. Well, I'm going to come to here, brushes. Really large. We're just going to kind of tap in. Kind of pulling up. And just kind of fill it in. You can see how that kind of helps give that illusion of perspective, atmospheric perspective. Okay. Alright, now we've got some of those pulled in. Now what we want to do is come back up here to the top. We're going to grab this grass brush. And we're going to kind of come up. We're just going to kind of lay in. These grab, but now what I want to do is grab this darkish blue from up here, this purplish color, and do that, and then where this overlapped, I'm going to grab a little darkness, I'm going to do Control-Z and undo that one. Kind of smudge that back. I'm going to select this. And then I'm going to select reddish color. We'll go down. Back down here to this grunge brush. Let's bring that size way down. I want the smear that it's going to give me. Smear some of that through. We're just going to keep building this up in layers a little bit. Grab a little bit of this one up into it. Darker. Compare the stencils, and I got this little guy. I want to seat. right about here. Something like that. Let's color him in. Like that. Now we've got this little fella down here, which I think is kind of cool, kind of neat. And let's grab maybe this color, but this brush is going to be a little too chaotic. Rebrush here, let's see how that one works. Looks so stenciled. First of all, soften that up. I'm going to grab a little bit of, let's try this one. Just a touch in here. And then we'll go to 4. Paint the whole rabbit, feel free. If you don't want to put the rabbit, feel free. I just thought it'd be something a little different we could do. So the main thing here is just remember kind of the direction that the fur be going, because we're just giving the impression of this guy. We're not trying to, I mean, like I said, unless you just want to do a full rabbit. And very much just kind of in the background. Let's grab a little bit of this. And what I mean by in the background is that, just kind of subtle. I don't want it just like, almost that I don't want it just jumping out at you. Anyway, just want to have a little bit of light kind of coming around this guy, defining him, because again, this is going to be very dark. He's kind of hiding. And once we've got that all kind of in there, we'll just kind of soften it. Okay. Something along those lines. Like I said, we want him really kind of just buried in here. So that wascally webbed is pretty soft. Let's grab a few of these. Just kind of streak it across. Do it again. We're going to come down even lighter. Just put a little bit in the middle. Streak it out from the middle. Now let's make another layer. We'll set this one to overlay. Have this streak across. We can take some of it out. Let's go to the soft. Airbrush a little bit, bring the opacity down. Pop. Come back down here. Back over. And let's pick up some of this. Scotch brush. Let's get this almost like a seeded grass kind of a feel. Just want to add in some different little things here and there, just to add interest. Kind of soften these into each other a little bit better. Something like that. So there we go. Obviously you can spend a lot more time on this, but hopefully this will help kind of give an idea of how to maybe do some of these. Perspective, atmospheric perspective that we've got there. And the gradient of the colors. I think that's a good way to kind of get your colors kind of laid out and stuff too. So, alright, well, I think that's enough of this one to kind of give you some things to work on and some ideas. So let me know what you do with it. Do you do the same kind of grasses and stuff? Do you do a rabbit? Do you do more trees in the background? Clouds? What are you doing? But hopefully this is a nice beginner kind of painting for you, and that way you can kind of build from here. Let me know if you have any questions or comments or suggestions about it. Have a great rest of the day, and I'll see you on the next one.